Hello and welcome to another tier list video. Today we're taking a look at the Winter Olympic events. Now I'm personally a little more of a fan of Summer Olympics, but there are some Winter Olympic events that I really like, so let's jump in. Starting us off, we have Alpine Skiing. This is an event that I don't really mind watching if it's on TV and I don't have anything to do. I'll usually tune in for it. But overall, it's nothing really super exciting. It's relatively similar for each of these events, just people carving down the mountain, which is pretty fun to watch, especially with just how quickly they can do it and how well they carve. But I don't particularly love the event. Maybe if I skied more, I'd have more of an appreciation for it. But overall, it's a pretty average one for me, so I would say C tier for that one. Up next, we have speed skating. Now, this to me is kind of what I think of when I think of the Winter Olympics version of like track events. You know, it's a lot of running in ovals, but it is pretty interesting. I don't love it. Similar to Alpine skiing, you know, I'll watch it if it's on. I don't dislike it, but it's pretty average for me. So I'll say C tier. Up next, we have the biathlon. Now, this is the one that it's basically a combination of cross-country skiing and shooting. So they like have to ski to different places and then they have to shoot targets. And I think if they miss, they actually have to do more. This is one that I find to be pretty interesting. You know, anytime you're combining guns and skis, I feel like, you know, it's going to be at least somewhat interesting. And I do enjoy watching this event. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty interesting, especially, you know, it's always interesting to see how many of the targets that the Olympians are going to be able to hit. So biathlon will put you in the A tier. Up next, we have snowboarding. Now, this is probably my favorite event, I think. I love watching the half pipe. It's just so crazy to see the different tricks and moves that people can pull off. I really don't have anything negative to say about this. Shaun White's a legend. Snowboarding is an easy S tier for me. Up next, we have figure skating. This one I actually quite like. You know, I'm not a big fan of like normally like choreographed sports such as like gymnastics or dance. I'm not a huge fan of, but figure skating I actually do quite like. I find it pretty interesting, seeing all the tricks and just like, you know, the flips that they do. So figure skating I'm actually going to be putting in the A tier. I think figure skating is pretty fun to watch. Definitely one that I'll tune into if it's on. Up next we have cross-country skiing. Now, you might think I kind of like cross-country skiing because I liked biathlon, but cross-country skiing on itself for me is really boring. It's kind of like watching like the men's marathon in the Summer Olympics. Like, who wants to watch something that long? Because the cross-country skiing events, as far as I know, are all like very long. Like I think a minimum of 5 kilometers. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the minimum distance that they go, which it's just not really that exciting, and it's not quite as intense enough for me because it's just so long and kind of drags on, and it's not super exciting. So cross-country skiing, we're gonna put you in the D tier. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Up next, we have curling, and I quite like watching curling. I've never done it myself, but I know some people who have, and I find it pretty fun to watch, even not at the Olympic level, even at the amateur level. I think it's pretty fun to watch. You know, it's basically an ice version of shuffleboard, and I really like playing shuffleboard, so maybe that's why I enjoy watching curling. But you know, it's not super intense, not very exertion heavy as some of the other events are, but it's just a fun one to watch, so I'll put curling in the B tier. Not spectacular, but it's a solid one. Up next, we have freestyle skiing. Now this is another one that I love, just seeing the different tricks and moves that people can pull off, like doing flips and I don't even know the names of all the moves, but freestyle skiing is just really fun to watch. Similar to snowboarding for me, it's going to be in the S tier. Up next, we have ice hockey. Now, I'm really not a fan of playing or watching hockey. I almost never will watch NHL games when they're on TV. But when it comes to the Olympics, you know, these are the best of the best. And even though I'm not a huge fan of hockey, watching Olympic hockey is still fun. So even though I don't like hockey, Olympic hockey is just on such another level from the rest of hockey that it's going to be a B tier for me. Up next, we have ski jumping. Now this is another event that I like to watch. Even though what each person does is pretty much the same thing, I always find it really interesting just watching like how far they go through the air and how far they can make it down a slope. Again, not a whole lot really happens besides them just flying through the air, but I enjoy watching it, so ski jumping we'll put in the B tier. Up next, we have bobsledding. This is the 4-person team where they all climb into the bobsled and race down the course. And I don't particularly love this one because it's a racing event, but you don't really have the excitement of seeing 2 people racing each other head to head. In something like speed skating, you know, you can see 2 people right next to each other approaching the finish line, and it's intense, you know, seeing who's going to come out ahead. But bobsledding, and this is the same for the luge and the skeleton as well, it's just not as exciting because it's a race because it's based on time, but you know, they're not going at the same time, of course, because there's only one course and you can't fit 2 bobsleds, and you know, that'd be kind of dangerous. But it's just not that exciting having one go and then okay, we see their time, and then another one go and then okay, we see their time. I just don't find it that exciting, and there's not a whole lot of variation between, you know, each race. It's pretty much the same thing, so bobsledding, sorry, but really don't enjoy you, F tier. Up next, we have the luge, which is kind of similar to the bobsled, where you go down a predetermined course, and it's time-based, they go one at a time. It's not that exciting. Honestly, I don't have much else to say. Luge, you're pretty much still 1-person bobsled for me, F tier. Up next, we have the skeleton. You might think this one is also going to be F tier for the same complaints that I made about the previous 2 events, but skeleton, just because it's so terrifying, because they're literally laying on their stomach, going head first at like, I don't know, I want to say 80 miles an hour or something crazy like that. Like, they go really fast in the skeleton, and as well for the bobsled and the luge. But the fact that they're going head first, I mean, it's a ballsy event, so just for that, I'll give it the D tier. But again, I don't love it. It's not that exciting for me. It's pretty much the same thing, no matter who you're watching, no matter who's performing. It's pretty much the same thing. But anyways, that's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed.